Hey everybody, welcome to Author Talk. I'm Sarah Donovan, and we are meeting with all of the generous authors who have contributed to the anthology Just YA, which is an open education resource at oklahomastate.com, free for teachers, free for students to read, and download and print and all of those things. But if you want a paperback, you can get one too. So today we are here with the incredible Stacey Joy. Welcome, Stacey. Will you just say a little bit about where you are in the world?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. So, I'm a teacher of 39 years in the elementary classroom. I'm National Board Certified teacher. I've been in Los Angeles all of my life, second generation Angelino, which is not so common. Graduate of UCLA and Cal State Dominguez Hills. I have two grown adult children, cat, and I'm a lover of poetry and the ocean.
Oh, I love it. I wonder if you could say just a little bit about, if you always saw yourself as a writer or how you came to name yourself as a writer or poet.
So I thought back when I was really young, I think maybe elementary school. That's when I started playing school, practicing being a teacher. And I always wrote out stories, like make-believe stories for this fake teacher in me to share with my fake students. So I think that was like the beginning of like being a creative writer. And then I started creating these like greeting cards, and I would make cards for my friends and family. And to me, that was the start of the poetry. Then I started writing like dramatic short stories as a teen because I was so like into being rebellious, and I never could really find stories that appealed to me. So I wrote stories that I felt like were exciting. And then into college, that's when the poetry bug really hit me. And I started writing more and more. And then when my mom got sick in around 2008, 29, 2009, it's so funny how saying it now sounds strange. 2009. I started writing just to ease some of my suffering. And then after she passed, I got involved in the UCLA writing project. And then that's when I just said, writing is part of me and it will always be my go-to for like release and for comfort and even for joy. So I think I've just been writing a long time.
Thanks, Stacey. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your journey of the different seasons of your writing life. And I think that that's something young writers want to hear, or people who don't think of themselves as writers yet, that there are seasons for it and different kinds of writing, and we use writing for different ways, right?
Right,
And I don't think students always have a chance to see what it can do for them.
exactly. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Well, you were so generous to share some of your poems for our anthology and for teachers. And which one did you choose to read for us today?
I think I'd like to read Unconstitutional, considering the times that we're in right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, unconstitutional. Crave unity, the perfect kind, a union of differences, celebrated and honored, respected and preserved. Seek justice for all humankind, indivisible, equitable, no hands up, and we will breathe. Pursue tranquility with hoodies on while jogging, when driving, where standing, while being Black. Demand defense, protection from enemies within white houses, behind blue codes, across every street, inside cold courtrooms. Destroy poverty, dismantle systemic racism, secure all liberties, to live fearless with radical love for ourselves and our posterity.
Mm. Wow, Stacey. I mean, I've read this many times and it's been in my heart and in my mind, but it means so much after this week. this month after January. Oh my gosh.
January.
Um, will you talk a little bit about your process of writing this and maybe some of the lines that stand out to you now as you reread it?
Yes. So I honestly don't remember who prompted this one. It's been a while. I'm thinking it was um, more than 2 or 3 years ago. But all of that to say that it's crafted in stanzas of 6 lines. Um, my thought behind each stanza was a specific focus. So we have unity, then we have justice, then we have tranquility, we have defense, and we have poverty. And then within those stanzas, some explanation of really what's expected or what's needed. And then some of it is the experience, what's happening. And then it's also like thinking about the future, solutions to some of the problems. So it's actually free verse form. It's not a form that follows a particular rule or pattern. But I was definitely in that space. I almost feel like it was right after George Floyd. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that's when it all came to be. Um, because it was such a difficult time for all of us and those of us who are really looking at the systems that are in place now. Fast forward to 2025, it's like we're watching the same things happen over and over and over, and like solutions just seem to be fading away.
Mm.
But I don't give up. We have to keep pushing for change.
Yeah, I think it feels like such a composite of moments over the last, whatever, 5 years, 3 to 5 years, a composite of moments that you have really synthesized in here that are, when we're teaching writers or we're teaching poetry, a lot of teachers talk about allusions and things. And a lot of times we're reading old poems that have allusions to Greek and things like that. And, in here, there's just so many allusions to media, to news, to atrocities of harm and the jogging and the breathe and the breath and hoodies and blue coats and courtrooms and cold courtrooms, like all of these scenes, like I feel like a newsreel popping up
Yeah,
from the last, several years, all in this poem, um, in a really powerful way. And then, of course, one of the things that I love about your writing, and you is the turns that you can make in your writing that stir some hope, taking care of the reader, to remind us that there are things to be done,
hmm,
and that dismantling is done by human beings. Like we are the ones that can do that, right?
yes, yes. And living fearlessly with radical love is so like comforting to me because I know that deep down inside there's a lot of fear, but like just go ahead and just push away at everything that seems so terrifying. And remember, we have every ancestor before us to push us along and help us. So it's a good feeling.
Thank you so much for writing this and, reminding. I think there's a reminders in the poem of past, and there's a call, um, for us to think about what's happening today, and then an invitation to us to think about what we're going to do. And
Yeah,
maybe today we just write a poem, and that's not just, but we write a poem, and that's something that we can do today, in our culture.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you could say a little bit about, what are some things that you're working on now? I know you're always writing poetry and you're always busy with your students. Um, but what kind of projects do you have kind of stirring? What's interesting to you these days?
So, one thing that I just recently completed was I contributed to an article for an educational leadership journal, a collected collection of writings from Dr. Goldie Muhammad and some of us who are working with her. We're calling ourselves the Genius Garden, but there are these amazing people coming together to create um, beautiful spaces to share hope, to share ideas. But in this particular journal, I brought to the reader a collection of words from my students when they wrote about We Dream a World. So modeling after Langston Hughes, I Dream a World. And that was something that I really didn't expect to see years later on the page in something like that. So that was really rewarding. I've also been working on some curriculum that she's doing for teachers in K through 5. So I just recently, and I think this will really get your heart going, got to participate as a grade 5 unit on Tulsa Race Massacre.
Wow, Stacey.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
oh, we
I
need
was,
that. We need that.
yeah, I know, I know. And I was just so excited to get into the research and to learn more and to, just get in there with it because it's again another one of those pieces of history that's little known and not taught and it's missing. So I'm hoping that it'll be out later in the year and you'll be able to maybe share it with some of the teachers in Oklahoma and just excited about that. That's a
Oh,
big deal.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have, I mean, I'm gonna invite you back and we'll do a video on that. Maybe we can even do a workshop for Oklahoma teachers, just like a little webinar or like invite them in and walk through some of the things that you wrote
Yeah.
and maybe, yeah, like I think that would be fantastic if you're willing. Oh, I'm
That
just
would be
gonna
great.
ask you.
Yeah, please ask me.
Okay.
Other than that, just continuing to work on some creative ways that I can continue to reach my fifth graders because, it's a different time and different day. We can't just pump out the textbooks and expect results. So I spend a lot of time finding new strategies and looking at what's working with other teachers in other places. And I'm listening to a ton of podcasts and I follow people that I admire and see what works. And that's like I feel like I'm always like reading, learning, trying. So that's the story of my life right now. Like read it, try it, keep doing it. So that's what's happening.
Oh, thank you so much for that life update. As we close our time together, is there anything you'd like to say to teachers or the youth who read your poems in here in closing?
I do think it's important to say to teachers, especially those who teach, maybe I won't say lower than fifth grade. I'll say fifth grade and up, because that's when emotions and hormones and everything else. I feel like if we can really take time to understand who our children are, who our students are, make connections with them on an emotional level and a feelings level before we really start digging into the content and the test scores and what you're producing on the page as far as what the states want. I'm really hoping that teachers can start to really look at people first, and then if you use poetry, you're going to get to that person inside. You're not going to get it from the math equations and you're not going to get it from the science experiment, but you will get it if you take time to let them write from their hearts. So that's what I would encourage.
Love it. Let's close with that. I'm going to hold on to that. Thanks for being with us today, Stacey.
Thank you, Sarah.